Last week we had our supercharged Silverado in the shop and we fixed the door locks. They're working great. Problem, went to pull out, have a blinking TPMS light on. Y'all know the story. It wasn't on when I brought it in the shop. Well, no worries. Today we're going to tackle this tire trouble on Tech Garage. Welcome to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, it's that classic scenario. You know what I'm talking about. The light wasn't on when it came into the shop. Well, this time it actually wasn't on when it came into the shop. When we went to leave, it is on. Which one? The TPMS light, tire pressure monitor system, and it's blinking. That usually means there's a system problem, not just a low tire, Dave. We got a TPMS light on, brother.
Well, could it be because you don't have TPMS sensors? And this is aftermarket rims here, so may not have them.
Good thinking. Yeah, the Schrader valve's located right here, and there is no sensor there.
Okay.
You're right.
All right.
But 180 degrees down there, they actually give you a hole in the back there that goes on the rim. There's a TPMS sensor there, and I know that because back in 2015, we put TPMS on this whole truck, and it works fine.
Well, it worked fine, but that was 2015. So, yeah. Right. There's no extension cord running those. Those are on battery, so they could be dead. So we need to see if everything's talking, if they're all still working.
That's the thing to do. I see you're already ahead of me. You got the actual tool there from Continental. You can go ahead and scan it and find out what's going on. I got a guest here from Continental that knows all about TPMS. We'll get set up. You get to work.
All right, here we go. This scanner is great because if you don't know if a vehicle has TPMS in the first place, it will tell you. And once you've established that, then it's going to tell you whether it's communicating. So we'll just hit OK here, and we'll scan. I'll get to do the right front there. OK, and then we scan to see. And, oh, yep, sure enough, it is talking there. So it's telling me the PSI and everything is communicating. So we know it's working. I'm going to check the other 3 tires. In the meantime, John, tell them all about TPMS, brother.
That's right, Dave. We're going to talk tire pressure monitor systems. And I brought in an expert. This is Sean Lanou from Continental Aftermarket. Sean, you're all about tire pressure monitor systems.
Yep, live and breathe TPMS.
Let's talk about a couple of the facts that go on. First of all, that blinking light versus a solid steady light.
Yep, blinking light means something's wrong with the system. And it usually means there's a sensor bad. The solid light means 1 or more tires is dangerously low and we need to get air in that tire.
Or even just low. When it comes to a low tire light, we're talking about gas mileage. Affects that as well?
Yeah, you lose about 3% with a extremely low tire.
Yeah, with gas prices today, you want to keep it up there, absolutely. Also temperature. It seems like every time we have a cold snap, it's Florida. There's not many of those, but if it drops 10, 20 degrees, bam, here comes the TPMS light. What's going on?
Yep, phone calls ring into those service shops all the time. 1 PSI for every 10 degrees of temperature drop.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple of the systems, Sean. If I flip over here, you can actually see. I know there's the indirect system. Now that uses the ABS. You can see it right there, the wheel speeds, and it looks at all those different wheel speeds. You can see the right rear is actually going slower there, but what would happen is it would speed up. What's going on is it starts to get smaller, the tire air goes out, and it speeds up. The ABS can detect that, and it can actually use that. But most of the cars are direct systems, right, Sean? How does that work?
Yep, direct systems have sensors inside the tires. It mounted to the wheel, and they measure the pressure and temperature inside the tire.
So right here on the rims, located somewhere, you can have a banded one or you can have one like this. It's sitting inside of there. It's actually measuring the pressure and the temperature of what's going on.
Yes.
Now, tell us about the different types of sensors.
Yeah, you got clamp-in style, and you've got a snap-in style, which is a rubber stem.
They're all a little bit different. Now, how can I tell, or can I tell, if I have a TPMS sensor?
It's hard to tell. It's easier to tell when you have the clamp-in style, but with the rubber stem, there's so many different rubber stems out there, it's hard to tell. The best way is with a TPMS tool.
Yeah, and you could have a banded sensor as well. Do you have any tips with that? I know a lot of people break these when they put the wheels on and off.
Those are supposed to be mounted at 180 degrees from the valve stem, but this is just a hose clamp. As time goes on and temperature increases, this thing stretches, which can allow that to slip. So we need to test with a tool and make sure we know where that is.
Exactly, supposed to, the key word.
Right.
Yeah, just be careful when you're taking them on and off. The sensors themselves, now they're delicate, they're electronic instruments. We want some tools to put them in and use the right tools and torque specifications.
Follow the torque specs. Most of them have it either printed on the sensor or in the box on the box.
Absolutely. Well, when it comes to sensors, I mean, so many different types of configurations, you need a scan tool.
Yep, we need a scan tool to make sure we test those sensors and they're right.
Well, with the scan tool.
That's exactly what we did here. Found out that one of the sensors isn't working. So you said these things are, what, 6 or 7 years old? We might as well just replace them all while we're at it and get the job done right.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like that we word, though. This is tires and heavy, dirty work. Why don't we get Josh to do it?
That is a brilliant idea, my friend.
I'll tell
Work
you what.
smarter, not harder. Let Josh do it.
There you go. Josh will get them all taken care of. You take a small break, but come back because we got more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com right after Josh gets all his work done.
Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by NH Oil Undercoating, the official oil-based rust prevention system. Clamp Tight, the clamp-making tool. And by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Well, thanks to all our great sponsors. And welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, Sean, you're sticking with us with another segment. I'm sure grateful for that. You know, we found that sensor was actually bad. Josh is going to go ahead and replace them all. Good idea?
Very good idea.
Yeah, 2015. I can't do the math, but that's a lot of time.
Correct.
In order for Josh to do that, it was pretty simple. He just kind of cheated a bit. He put the tire on there backwards. He protected the rim. He put it down, and then he kind of collapsed the bead enough to where he could sneak in there and take that tire pressure monitor off, the old one. That one was a screw type. He kind of just unscrewed it, took it apart, took it out of the tire. Once he did that, well, he had the new Ready sensor, and that was super easy because that was a click-on type. So what he did is actually lubed it up a little bit because he had to pull the valve stem through the tire. Once he did that, he clicked it together. Once he clicked it together, he actually got a special tool, and that special tool actually pulled it up through the rim, the hole in the rim, and what it did, it popped the actual stem up in there. Then he made sure the tire pressure monitor was secure in the right place so he didn't break it with the bead, let the bead go, reared up the tire, balanced it, and now he's out on a test drive, Sean. He wants that light to go off, and then, you know, we're still gonna have to reprogram it and locate it all, but we'll pull that car back in a little while. We'll make sure it's in tip-top shape. Sean, let's slow down and switch gears a bit and talk about looking at tires for air pressure. I know the tire pressure monitors do a great job, but manufacturers are really, really critical about their air pressure. And if you're looking at it, Sean, look at this graphic right here. I mean, you got 100%, and then you can pull up 70%, all the way down to 40%. Now, looking at those side by side, can you tell a difference?
No, it's hard to tell the difference. And TPMS, the light usually comes on at about 25%. And you can see from the graphic at 70% compared to 100, it's hard to tell a difference.
The radial tires are squishy, so looking at the sidewall is not going to tell you what's going on. That's not a good idea.
No, not a good idea at all.
What should we do? What should we look? Where should we look? How do we know the air pressure?
We need to look at the door placard. That's going to give us the pressure for that vehicle with those tires.
Now, I looked at the tires. There's pressure on there as well.
Yeah, that's max pressure. Totally different.
Not a good thing. Look at the door placard. That's the key. Now, Continental Tire Division, they actually hooked us up with some tires here, and there's a huge difference between them. Now, the first one, Sean, this is Extreme Contact. This tire is a radial tire, and it's kind of hard to tell the air pressure in that as well. Tell us a little bit about that tire.
That's a Extreme Contact tire. It's an all-season tire, dry, wet, snow, made for all the seasons. It even has DWS on there for a wear indicator.
It does, and that's pretty cool because we're actually going to put this on our Marauder. We got a show coming up. I don't want to tell the audience too much, but we're going to put a set of those on there. That's a pretty high-performance tire. That's going to make great traction, and it's a really good tire.
That is correct.
Now, on the other hand, though, let me show you this right here, Sean. We actually put these Conti Pro Contact SSR. Now, SSR is self-supporting radials. You can see them right there. I actually put them on the car, and I took this and I let almost all the air out of that tire right there. Looking at it, you can't tell anything, can you?
No, sidewall on those, very, very stiff, made to run flat for a distance.
Yeah, for a distance. I mean, they're great tires. We're talking about temporary or extended driving without any air. Manufacturers today, like I said, they're trying to make these things have perfect air pressure. Now, corporate average fuel economy, they want these tires to have the proper air pressure so they're getting good fuel mileage. What are they doing with some new technology out there?
Yeah, we got a new technology called Tire Fill Assist, or it's a filling assistant. It allows the driver, when they're filling air, to be notified when the proper door placard pressure is reached.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Now, could you just get out, or every manufacturer a little bit different? Do I just fill the tire, or do I need lights on, or how does it work?
Every manufacturer is different, and not all manufacturers have it. Some, you have to have a low pressure alert before the system is active, But on this vehicle here, you can just turn the key on and start filling the air, and the hazard light will flash, and when we reach that placard pressure, the horn honks.
Well, let's do it. Come on over here and demonstrate it for us. We actually have a low tire pressure light on this vehicle, so it should be ready to go ahead and kind of do that TFA, that tire fill assist. If you put the gauge on there, Sean, let's see what the pressure is actually. So you're at about 29 PSI right now, so that would be low in the TPS light's on.
Yeah, and now as we start filling air in here, you'll notice that the hazard lights will start flashing on this vehicle. And when we reach that door placard pressure, the horn will honk.
So it's flashing, letting you know you're put, wow.
That's it.
That's it. Now let's see what the gauge says. Wow, it's right on the money. I think your placard's about 36.
Yep, 37 on the gauge.
That's amazing. Well, that's some high-tech technology built into tires today. Speaking of technology, we got some electronic power steering coming up right after this break. Stick around. There's plenty more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com.
John, who's the sponsor of the show this week?
Dave, if I had to guess, I would say RockAuto.com.
Subtle.
Yeah, big time. But you know what? They are all about Tech Garage.
And you can be too. You can catch all the previous seasons of Tech Garage on YouTube. Was that 8 seasons?
Absolutely. And check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that cool social media. We're pumping it out 24/7, and we love to hear from you. We're a show for the people, Dave.
It's a great place to send us a note and tell us how we're doing.
Well, hey, we're steering this thing in the right direction, electronically speaking, that is. Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. And that's what this segment's all about, electronic steering. Why do we have it, and what happens when it doesn't work? That's a problem. Let's check out, first of all, why do we have it? Well, you can see right here, it's a bunch of safety systems. It plays in with all these different systems. The anti-lock braking systems, it works in conjunction with the anti-lock braking for stopping your vehicle safely. Electronic stability control, obviously from turning around those corners, you want stability. You want the car to know between the rack and the pinion, or the gearbox and the steering wheel, where are we turning that wheel. Autonomous and emergency braking and lane departure. There's a lot going on that has to be incorporated into that electronic steering system. Now, what is it? How does it work? Well, there's a couple of different types of steering systems. You can see the first one is fully electric, but it's mounted up in the column. We'll take a look at that in a second. Then you have what's called an electro-hydraulic steering gear. So what's happening down by the actual rack and pinion, you employ the hydraulics, but you have the electricity of the motor actually pushing it and developing that hydraulic pressure down there. Now, the last one we have actually on our Challenger right there, that's actually fully electric steering, and that's what we have. And Dave's going to check it out and tell us about a couple codes that are going on. But before we do that, let's look at the steering right here. This is that one that's located on the column. This is neat because you can see the motor would go right here. Now, the key is you have a bunch of wires right here, because incorporated inside of this, you have a torque sensor, so it knows how hard you're turning, and a steering angle sensor, so it knows where you're turning. Now, you could have that incorporated into a steering angle sensor right here. You're just turning to the right or to the left, and it's telling that computer where you're turning. So number one, it can turn the rack and pinion, or it can turn the gearbox, but it's going to do it electronically. Now, it may be built into the multi-function switch right here. So I'm turning to the right or left. It's telling it once again through a computer system how to do it. Well, how does it work? Well, check out this schematic. It's pretty simple. It just comes down for a power assembly, then it feeds down to the electronic power steering module. He's the guy that's going to do all the work, that module. Then he's going to go through some data or bus lines, and he's going to relay that information back to the DLC so we can read some codes. And speaking of reading codes, now we can do it with a code reader, or we got our Diagnose Pro from Continental. Dave, you're doing just that.
Yeah, you got it, John. To find the DTC, the diagnostic trouble code, all you got to do is attach this. You turn the ignition on. You use your scan tool to find the code. Once you see what your code is, you clear it. Now we're going to start over again by starting the engine. Once you do that, you turn the steering from lock to lock. So that's all the way to the left, all the way back to the right, the full range of it. You want to see if everything in the system is happy, if everything's working together well. Yeah, it's simple as that. Turn the ignition off and back on. Now, if you see a code at this point, after you've done all that, then you got bad news. Well, the good news is, you know what the problem is. The bad news is you're going to have to replace your power steering unit. And if there is no code, then it could be an intermittent problem. And if it ain't broke, John, we can't fix it.
Dave, you made that look simple. Great information. If you want some more great information, stick around, because coming up next is the Master Technician Tech Tip. Well, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Tech Garage, but what you might not know, we have a sister show called Motorhead Garage. You could have seen me on there years past. I'm missing it, but Dave, what a phenomenal show that is as well.
Well, John comes back and guest hosts every once in a while. But at Motorhead Garage, we do what a lot of other folks don't do. They're building cars and everything. We're showing you the coolest products for your car, for your truck, anything that goes, we have it at Motorhead Garage.
Man, I got my DVR set. I'm watching it every Sunday morning. Join me and watch Motorhead Garage. Dave does a phenomenal job. What a great informational show with some great products.
Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by BrothersTrucks.com, your #1 source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC truck restoration. AP Laser, leading the way. And by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. It's the Master Technician Tech Tip time, and we're talking about torquing wheel lug nuts. No place for gunplay here. You want to do it properly, and there's two methods to do it. But before we get started, let's take a look down here at the wheel. There's a couple of patterns you want to use, and you can see it right there. If you got a 5 lug, 6 lug, it doesn't make any difference. I just want you to go in a star pattern. Start right here, and then go across, and go into a star pattern with this 5 lug. If it's other lugs, just keep going across. So you're distributing the torque equally. Now you also have to have the specification. You can see the specification right there. Well, there's the base and the SRT. That's obviously the Challenger. That's not our Mustang, but that shows you that you have to have the proper torque. Now our Mustang is 95 pounds of torque on this wheel right here. So we got two options. We can just get a torque wrench. We got this at rockauto.com. Come over here and set it to 95. And then what I want to do, I have somebody in the car holding the brake for us. Just put it on the lug nut and come and pull it till you hear that click, that audible click, or the head kind of giving out a little bit. Either way, you know you're there. Go in your star pattern. Now you can use what's called torque limiting adapters. Now in the shop we call them torque sticks. They're located right here. Really kind of cool what it is. You can see the thickness of the stick here. So what's happening is once it starts to break away or that stick starts to twist like a giant torque stick or a torque stick on a car, it's going to actually flex, and it's not going to put too much torque on it. It's going to put the exact amount. This one is 80 or 85. It's really close. So I'm going to use this one to demonstrate, and then you have the other ones for the different makes and models. Take your socket, put it on there. Now you can use your impact because you're not going to over torque it. But the deal is you want to go in that crisscross pattern and don't touch the stick. So let it hit. Go to your next one. It flexes when it starts to get tight. Up to this one. And then our last one. And it's going to give out, so you're not putting too much torque on. Why? Well, you don't want to warp the rotor, you don't want to do any damage to the rim. So just do that and you'll be good to go. Now you could damage parts without the right torque specifications, but no problem. Tom and Dave have you covered.
Since the advent of power steering, the systems have evolved from hydraulic systems to electric systems like we see here, Tom. And it's reasons like this my dad and my grandfather would always tell me, cars today are impossible to work on. It's not like the old days. Is that really true, though?
No, it's not true. I remember my grandfather telling me about my '77 Dodge, which is now quaint.
Some things never change, right?
Right. No, the parts are often easily replaced as a complete assembly, so you don't have to know about the electronics inside. You just replace the whole thing. And sometimes parts still fail like they did in the old days, where things just flex too much and crack, plastic containers crack. So you might have a high-tech electric power steering pump that's expensive, but what actually failed on it is just the plastic reservoir on the side. So instead of replacing the whole assembly, you can just replace the reservoir that leaked, or maybe it's just the O-ring that leaks, and it doesn't cost very much, and it's something any do-it-yourselfer could do.
That's what I love about RockAuto.com. You have options, and you guys seem to focus on that throughout the website.
Yeah, and the manufacturers are constantly coming up with, if something breaks, they'll come up with a solution. So. And with our huge selection, we provide all those different possible solutions.
Another thing I always heard about these sophisticated parts is that's sort of a dealer-only thing, but invariably that's not true either.
No, it's not. It's becoming more and more not true. That if the dealer has it, we're likely to have it too. That the manufacturers that supply the dealers supply us, and they're either OE parts, original equipment parts, or they're meet OE specifications.
RockAuto.com has you covered. Whether you're looking for an old hydraulic steering system, an electric one like this, they're keeping up with the latest technology. Go check them out.
Well, we have all the TPMS sensors installed in all the wheels. Just did it right. Forget about doing one of them. Went ahead and scanned them all, put the location in. We have an enhanced driver center. Everything's right. The tires are right. The TPMS right. Dave, another win on Tech Garage.
Well, it's called Tech Garage for a reason. Technical on everything, highly technical. We talked about electronic power steering. There's a very cool demonstration they had there. I learned a whole lot from that. And boy, steering has just gone through the roof with technology.
It is something. And on Master Tech Tip, we talked about the axle torque and wheel lug nuts, which was perfect because on this episode with these custom rims, it's important. Torque is important.
Torque is important. It's not that high tech. The materials are high tech. So if you over torque those, things could break. Under torque them, things could fall off. So torquing is very important. Check your service manual.
Yeah, right. And it's absolutely the tire technology and what's happened with tires. I mean, it's high tech. This shows high tech, man. That was pretty cool.
Well, you're all about high tech. This guy's all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, my Face, FaceTube. This guy's on all of it. Yeah, he's got all of it. And you can check us out there. Until next week when we come back, give you more high-tech stuff here on Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. From the best crew in the business, we'll see you next week.
Production assistance for Tech Garage is provided by Chipola College, located in Marianna, Florida. Founded in 1947, Chipola was ranked recently as one of the top 3 community colleges in the United States.